Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sonia Kaur Bansal and welcome to Gandhia School of Education. Today my topic is social structure and social order. So students, we are going to understand about it, what is the social structure and what is the social order. So let's understand it and let's see today's learning objectives that you all of you are going to understand with very much interest and curiosity. I'm sure you will be paying attention and you will be learning well. Okay, so today you will be understanding about the concept of social structure as what it is and how it works and how it is prevailing in the society. Then you're going to see about status and role of social structure in the society, and definitely I hope you will understand about it. And then we will discuss about the problems of social structure in today's class, and then social institutions. There are various social institutions that we are going to discuss in today's class. Then we will move to social order and different theories that are given by Karl Marx or Durkheim. So we are going to see these theories in a very good way, and I hope you will understand about social structure as well as social order in the society. It's a very unique topic in sociology also, and when we are studying the topic or social structure and social order, so let me tell you, when I'm covering the learning objectives, that while we are studying the paper Contemporary India and Education, so students, it is very much clear that being prospective teachers, it is important for all of you to understand how the society functions, how the social structures are actually into the existence of any social system. So just try to understand and learn well. Then, what is the social order and how it functions? And why it is so important for you to understand, because you are going to trade the future generation, and until unless you yourself are understanding the importance of social structure and social order in the society, how can we expect from your students that they will be well merged with the society's orders? So it is very important for all of you to understand as well as apply all the concepts, all the theories in your teaching also. All right, so let's start with social structure. Now, first of all, we are going to see about social structure. So, social structure, what it is? So, we all know that it is a framework consisting of social institutions, political, educational, and religion. So, social practices, roles, and statuses, and social groups, primary and secondary. It means that in which society we are living, there are some parts and parcel of it. It is not one in all. I hope you are understanding it. It is not one in all. And there are many parts of it, and it may be political, educational, and religion. So there are many phases, many parts of one society. And as well as parts, we are talking about roles and statuses also. So social practices and social groups also, primary groups are there, secondary groups are there. So all of these things, whatever they are, institutions, practices, or groups, so they are called social structure. So remember, social structure is combined of three things. First is institution, secondly social practices, and thirdly social groups. Okay, so it establishes a society and applies limits on behavior. When we are in a group, when we are in an institution, or whenever we are following any social practice as students, definitely we can't be like our own, and we can't be in a very free manner and do whatever we want, because we are in social structure. So that is why it is establishing a society, and society is actually imposing some limits on our behavior, that this should be the behavior and this should not be. So it refers as the way in which a society is organized, how the society is well woven, how the political parties are working in a society, how the educational institutions are working in society. Are they only at the primary or secondary level, or are they also working at higher education, or on which level they are working well? They are working very nicely. So these are some few points that you must remember when you are describing the social structure. So it is just organizing the things in a society. So it is a collection of people and relation in a specific geographical area. We all live in Jaipur, students, so there is a social structure in Jaipur that we follow some political um, uh, structures, and then educational institutions and religions also. So this is something that you must keep it in your mind, that social practices also is a part of social structure, and this belongs to a particular geographical area. Whatever we people of Rajasthan do, it is not necessary that the people of Kerala or South they are doing the same thing. The institutions might differ, the social practices might differ, the way we are living it might differ. So the groups in social structure, maybe primary or secondary groups, they are differ. The working people, the work type, everything might be different. So this is something also concerned with geographical area also. So understand it in that way. So social structure, again I repeat that it is a combination of social institutions, social practices, and social groups. And secondly, it establishes a society, and society actually imposes some limit of behavior among us. And then it is a collection of people and relation in a specific geographical area. Now you can see figure of social structure in my presentation: society, institutions, and then groups, and roles and statuses. So we are going to see what are the roles and statuses, but just understand in that way how the society is comprised, how it is composed. So institutions and groups are there, roles and structures are there. So everything is there in that way. And we have to see what are the roles and statuses. Now, students, let's see status of social structure. I was talking about status in earlier slides. So, what is status when I'm talking about status in a society? We generally use this term in our living also, that okay, the high status family, low status family, or middle class status family. We generally do use this word in that way. So let's understand about it in a more elaborated way. What is the status? So status is a socially defined position. It's mind, it's students. It's a defined position in society, characterized by certain expectations, rights, and duties. So it means that if you are having a particular status, definitely you are actually meeting out some certain expectations. You must be having some rights as well, and then you must be having some duties to perform in a certain way. So this is all related to status. Now let's see types of status, how it is working. So types of status is ascribed status, achieved status. There are two types of status: ascribed and then achieved. I repeat, ascribed and then achieved. Now, what is ascribed status? Ascribed status is given to individual generally at birth, and from which they cannot escape. These statuses are fixed. I hope you are understanding what is ascribed status, student. So just understand in that way. If a child is born in a Christian family, he's or she's Christian for the whole life. And it is also that if there are four varnas in our society, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, if the child takes birth in that particular category, the child is supposed to have the same one for all his or her life. So this is a scribe status which is given to individual generally at birth. It is not actually formed, it is given to him, it is automatically received from ancestors or parents, and you cannot escape from it. So it is by birth. Then there are some statuses which are called achieved. So achieved status are the positions that are achieved by individuals for themselves, and these are the statuses that can be changed. I hope you are understanding that even from taking the birth of such a category which is not so good in education or any other academic or administrative birth, but the person is doing so much hard work and passes a administrative exam, maybe RAS or IAS, then the person is actually changing his or her status in a very respective way. All right, so this is something you just understand, that the status of social structure is something that is ascribed status or achieved status. Okay, students. Now, status of social structure, when we are studying about it, let's study about master status. Is most important status that a person occupies. So, what is the master status? So, master status, example, being a member of a religious, racial, or sexual minority, homeless, or gender. So, this is master status, and it's the most important status that a person occupies. Now, another is symbol status. We are discussing the types of status, and so first we discussed about ascribed status, and then we discussed about achieved status, and now it's master status, and now symbol status. So, what is the symbol status, students? Let's understand it. That symbol status are material signs that inform others of a person's specific status. Example, wearing a wedding ring proclaims that a person is married. All right, when you see a ring in a girl's or boy's hands, okay, your wedding ring. So this is a symbol status. In our India, female applies sindoor and mangal sutra. These are all symbol status that the person is married. So this is actually symbol status which is working in our social structure. So now let's understand about roles of social structure. What are the roles of social structure? Now students, I hope you have understood this much, that what is the social structure and what is the type of status. Just to proceed further from this point, I want to make you clear about it, that social structure is something that is composed of social institutions, social practices, social groups. All right, and it is actually very helpful in organizing a society. Now we discussed about social statuses. Social statuses we discussed about four types. That were, first was ascribed, which was given to us from birth. Achieved, which can be changed, and from hard work the person can change his or her social status. Then master, the particular status he or she enjoys throughout the life. Then symbol status, that some signs or some particular symbols the person is carrying that is showing his or her status. I given you the example of wedding ring. Now let's discuss about the roles of social structure, what they are. So now roles are sets of norms that specify the rights and obligations of each status. So when we are deciding the roles of social structure, we have studied about status, and now let's study about roles. So role is something that is actually deciding some norms, some duties, some values, and it is specifying your rights and obligation to each status that you are having with each other. So if, for example, I have the status of a student, and what's your role then? My role is to learn. And now I have the status of a teacher, so my role is to teach. So this is about roles of social structure, that the people who are living in the society enjoy different status, and when they have their status, they have some rights and they have some duties also with them to perform in a certain way. All right, students, so this is about role. Now let's understand about problems of social structure. What are the problems of social structure? We have seen what is social structure, but just imagine, students, that everything is going smoothly and there is no problem in a society, and social structure is well woven and nobody is actually having any problem with anyone. Why the problem arises? This point has to be given consideration, because why the problems arise, this matters a lot in a social structure. Maybe your role and your status, your duties are conflicting with my role, my status, and my duties. I'm also a teacher, and you are also a teacher. So maybe it is conflicting in one or another way. So just understand and try to understand that first of all, it is the problem we are discussing, that is role conflict. How does the role conflict? See, the role is conflicted when a person, suppose I'm expected to fulfill the duties of two contradictory positions. I have two positions. I'm having two status, and I have to fulfill the duties of both the status. So how will I do that, and how will I just complete the obligations which is required from me to complete that? For example, students, in case if a person is both dad and a coach, I hope you are understanding. In sports, if a person is father as well as coach also, the person is having two duties, fulfill two duties as a father and as well as coach. Okay, so as a father, he wants to see his son participating in the baseball game, and no matter how good or bad his skills are, father really wants his son to be participating in all the sports events which he is really willing to his son to participate. But as a coach, he has to do what's best for the team, and this means he must put in players that are more talented and will help the team win the game. So this is the main problem which is related to role conflict. So role conflict is something, students, that is actually when a person is allotted with two duties. And many times you, all of you, must be facing this role conflict problem. What should I do as a teacher, as a mother? And this is specifically the problem with working women who are specifically about teachers I'm talking. So this is the role conflict that prevailing in the society many times, and this is the basic or main problem of social structure. Now let's see the second problem, which is related to role strain. Now what is role strain, students? Let's understand that. Role strain occurs when incompatible role demands develop within a single status. So this is something that you are having one status in the society, and it is demanding so much from you that you have to do so much for just following that role. So some kind of strain is there in the mind, and it is disturbing the social structure. Now, see the example of this thing, that role strain occurs when a person has difficulty meeting the responsibilities of a particular role in his or her life. Suppose if you are reading this right now at a time when you are having trouble keeping up with expectations on you as a student, learning all you need to learn, keeping on top of the work involved, this means you are experiencing strain on your role as a student. So, status inconsistencies ascribed versus achieved status. So, just try to understand, students, that when I am feeling problems in fulfilling my duties or responsibilities, when I'm facing difficulty, so role strain arises, and this is the biggest problem of social structure, that you have the status of a student, you are behaving as a student, but as a student you are facing problems in learning, in keeping on top of the work which is actually required from you. You are not able to understand the assignment or any questions or any papers which is actually supposed from you to understand. So that is why, students, a role strain is actually arising by that time. So status inconsistency is there when ascribed versus achieved status have some contradiction. So status inconsistency is a condition in which a person's social position is high in one regard but low in another regard. I hope you are understanding that if I'm having two status altogether, that then the condition is that one status is higher in the society and another is lower. As I told you, that maybe one lower varna category person is achieving high administrative post. So the person is having both positions, one higher in regard and one lower in another regard. So this is status inconsistency. Now, students, after studying the problems of social structures, let's discuss about some social institutions also. How and what is about the social institutions, how they are formed, and what do we understand by different social institutions. Because if we want to have a good social structure, then we must go towards a good institution. As I told you, that social structure is composed of three things. Firstly, social institutions, secondly, social practices, and thirdly, social groups, primary and secondary groups. All right. So we are looking at social institutions, that what is the social institutions and how it is working in the society. So any institution in a society that works to socialize group of people in it is called social institutions. I hope you are understanding, students, that any social institution, any institution in a society that works to socialize the group of people in it is called social institution. So, inculcating the social values among the people living in the society is called social institution. It is a group of social position, students, connected by social relations as well as performing a social role. So it is also involving characteristics, like institutions are purposive. So let's understand the characteristics. So what are the characteristics of social institutions? So institutions, whatever the social institutions are there, they have some purpose in them. They're not just made for the sake of just, okay, fine, one more institution is there. No, every institution has its purpose, and it is relatively permanent in content also. So institutions are structured, they have proper structure in themselves, from higher to lower authority. Institutions are unified structures. If I'm talking about school, it's an institution, and of course social institution. If I'm talking about school, all of you must be having a very good idea of school. and all over everywhere the school's concept of school will be same. If I'm talking about college, then the concept of college will be same, and so on with universities and any other institution. So apart from these which I have given you about social educational institutions, so there are many social institutions which I'm talking to you. Now, major social institutions we are going to discuss today, which let's understand one by one. First of all, and the major social institution is the family. Yes, students, it is about family. Family is the major social institution in the society, and it is the basic unit of society and the educational system where the child begins to learn his ABC from the beginning, from the scratch. First of all of you must have heard about it that mother is the first teacher of a child. Even before sending the child to the school, the child is learning from his home environment, from family members. So it is the first and very important basic unit of socialization, where the children are learning socialization, where the individual develops their values, behavior, and way of life through interaction with the members of the family. Small things which are actually taught in the family by the family members, they are very important. The child is learning how to respect elders. The child is learning how to share the smallest thing in parts with other family members. So these are some values. How to behave with elders, how to behave with younger ones. So all these values are taught in the family. All right. So this is about the major social institution which is called family, and I again repeat, this is the basic unit of society and the educational system. All right. So next is government as a social institution. Yes, of course. After the family, we are talking about government, where we are living in our geographical condition. The government which is working there is also a very major social institutions, and it is about that which solves the conflicts that are in public in nature and involve more than one people. They are solving many problems which are actually related to the society people, and the government's parties are very important. So after family and government, now come educational institutions. So education is very, very important in any individual's life. So the form of learning in which the knowledge, skills, and habits of a group of people are transferred from one generation to the next through teaching, training, or research is only possible through educational institutions. All right, students. So this is the major social institution which we are talking about. We cannot transfer our knowledge and skills, habits to the next generation if there are no educational institutions. So it's very important to teach the next generation, to train the next generation, and to just make them very, very efficient in research work so that they can just give very beautiful benefits to the upcoming generations. All right. Now, the next major social institution is religion. Yes. Religion is something, students, that is actually called a system. And it is a system of belief and rituals that serves to bind people together through shared worship, thereby creating a social group. We have different religions: Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, different religions. And all of you will find, and you have studied in your previous semester also, whatever the religion is there, no religion teaches us to be inhuman. All are favoring to be human. All right. So they have some set of rituals with them which they want their generations to follow them, and they want their people to bind with each other. So this is something that they are creating a social group, but a true religion means that they are not disrespecting any other religion. Okay, so this is religion. Now I again tell you about the major social institution in nutshell, that major social institutions are those institutions that actually compose a society. And in that we are including family, government, educational institutions, and religions. So just remember them very nicely. Now, students, let's talk about social order. We have discussed enough about social structure, problems of social structures, and so on, various things related to them. Now, social order. What is social order? So we have some core definition about it. What is social order? So let's understand about it. Social order actually refers to the ways in which societies remain sufficiently stable to enable coordinated productive and cultural activity. Okay, so social order refers to the ways in which societies remain sufficiently stable to enable coordinated, productive, and cultural activity. So, whatever the activities are happening in a society, it is sufficient to maintain a good relationship among the society members, as well as it is good enough to maintain a stability or maintain a good order in the society. As I've told you, students, that in society we have to be in some limit within our behavior. So, social order is something that is teaching you, referring you to the ways in which you have to be sufficiently stable yourself, and you have to be coordinated with each other in a very productive means something where you are not losing, you are gaining something. And cultural activities, whatever activities you are doing, so social order is must in that. Now when we are talking about explanatory context, students, so what is social order there? So social order requires organization to enable coordinated and cooperative activity. So again, see two important terms you must remember when you are understanding about social order. Okay, so you must remember two important things which are actually related to coordination plus cooperation. That means people who are living in society, they must be coordinating well and they must cooperate well. Whatever is the activity within the social structures and institutions. I have told you many institutions. If you are in the family, if you are actually celebrating any smallest, just imagine you are celebrating a birthday party. So this is the activity that is happening in your own family. That is a major and basic unit of the social structure. So you have to be well coordinated with the family members to celebrate that birthday party. All right. So social order means that there are social practices, social activities that ensure the maintenance and enforcement of appropriate ways of behaving. It actually demands from the society member a good code of conduct, students, and a code of conduct which is maintaining the laws and orders of the society. So how to behave appropriately, this is actually learned in social order. We cannot destroy the social order. Whatever you do in the society, follow the norms. You are supposed to follow the norms, and there are like in nowadays in pandemic situation, when the government has imposed so many restrictions on celebrating anything or doing any social activity, cultural activities, they impose so many bans, so we cannot break them. Why we cannot break them? Because we have to coordinate and cooperative with government, which is a major social institution of our social structure. I hope you are understanding this. So this is in explanatory context, and there are diverse theories about social order. Many theories. For example, Marx argued that relations of production were the principal mechanism of social order. That whatever the people are getting, production is the principal mechanism of social order. And on the contrary, Durkheim argued that social order came from shared social norms. So we have different theories. So let's understand these theories one by one, and we will be understanding the social order in a more refined way. Okay, students. Now let's understand more about social order. First of all, so social order is a fundamental concept in sociology, and it refers to the way the various components of society work together to maintain the status quo, which I have told you about. What are the status and different status? They include social structures and institutions, social relationship, social interaction and behavior, cultural features such as norms, beliefs, and values. So, this is about social order. That in social order, we include social structures, institutions, social relationship with each other, how the social institutions or the structure or the major component relate with each other, and how people interact and behave with each other, how the cultural features such as norms, beliefs, and values is working. So this is all about social order. So just understanding more about it, just understand, student, that social order is a core theoretical issue in the social sciences. So just understand in that way, it is practiced in a practical way, but it is understood in a theoretical way in the terms of its social institutions, which we have just seen in the terms of family, government, religion, educational institutions. So everything must be in the practical or execution form, but you have to understand the logic behind it. So the problem arises because human beings are both individual and social. For social order to arise and to be maintained, two separate problems must be overcome. Okay, so people must be able to coordinate with their actions, and they must cooperate to attain common goals. Coordination is something that requires students that people develop stable expectations about others' behavior. We can have stable expectations and still not much social order. However, if people are to live together, they must not only be able to coordinate their activities but also to interact productively. It means that you as a student, you, it is not only sufficient to live in a class altogether but and coordinate only, but you also must do something that is representing your class, and you must do something very productive. Maybe it is in the case of your lesson plan, your teaching, your any activity which you are doing with full soul and heart. So to do the things that help rather than hurting each other. So this is something productive. If you're not hurting each other, that means you are little productive in your groups, in your coordination. That is really very appreciable. So, highly ordered societies have a remarkable capacity, students, to sustain cooperation. And where there is a cooperation in so many societies, you can see they grow well, they bloom well, and their the persons living in the society, they enhance their personalities, they enhance their careers, and they grow very well. So this is called something productive society, and which is actually only can be attained through social order. Now to have just look have more points about social order that has long been conceived as an organization or mechanism which exists as a part of the cosmos and operates through large scale forces acting at a distance. And social theory has taught man that he must learn to submit uh, these assumed forces and accept this cosmic organization as necessary to social order. While social research has attempted to measure these assumed forces, and recent studies of culture and personality indicate that social order is not given, but historically developed ideas, beliefs, and patterns of conduct and of feeling, which each culture has evolved as the guides to human conduct and the management of group activities. So, understand students that this is related to studies also, that culture and personality indicate that social order is not something that is I'm giving to you and you are just carrying it out further. It is actually developing through a duration of time, and historically it is developing its ideas, beliefs, values, and a pattern of conduct how the people in the society must behave. So, with each culture, it has evolved within it as the guides to human conduct and the management of group activities. So, social order is very, very necessary. So, outside the field of sociology, let's discuss. We have seen this much about sociology, and now outside the field of sociology, we must see what is social order. People often use the term social order to refer to a state of stability and consensus that exists in the absence of chaos and upheaval. Sociologists, however, have a more complex understanding of the term. Just understand this in that way, students, that if you are having a society where there is no other people are actually making chaos, or they are becoming, they are just creating chaos in the society, or there is something that people are having difference of opinion within them. So when the absence of such things is there, it is called social order. So, within the field, it refers to the organization of many interrelated parts of a society. Social order is present when individuals agree to a shared social contract. I'll be telling you what is social contract, that states the certain rules and laws must be abided and certain standards, values, and norms must be maintained. Now, social order can be observed, students, within national societies, geographical regions, institutions and organizations, communities, formal and informal groups, and even at the scale of global society. Yes, we have a concept of global society, not just a family is the basic unit, and then your district, then your state, then your nation, and then of course it's international or global society. So within all of these, social order is most often hierarchical, students. Some people hold more power than others. So they can enforce the laws, rules, and norms necessary for the preservation of social order. So practices, behavior, values, and beliefs that are counter to those of the social order are typically framed as deviant and or dangerous, and are curtailed through the enforcement of laws, rules, norms, and taboos. So just remember this thing, that social order is observed overall. Okay, now let's understand something about social contract, which I had just mentioned you the term in previous slide. The social contract is, students, that it comes the question of how social order is achieved, and not only achieved, how it is maintained, and is a question that gave birth to the field of sociology. So, in his book Leviathan, English philosopher Thomas Hobbes laid the groundwork for the exploration of this question within the social sciences. And students Hobbes recognized that without some form of social contract, there could be no society and chaos and disorder would reign. And according to Hobbes, modern states were created to provide social order. People agreed to empower the state to enforce the rule of law. And in exchange, they gave up some individual power. This is the essence of the social contract that lies at the foundation of Hobbes' theory of social order. That people are getting some uh, powers in exchange that they are getting individual powers, and it is related to Hobbes' theory of social order, and it is mentioned in his book Leviathan. So, as sociology became an established field of study, early thinkers became keenly interested in the question of social order. So, founding figures such as Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim focused their attention on the significant transitions that occurred before and during their lifetimes, including industrialization, urbanization, and the waning of religion as a significant force in social life. So, this is how it became an established field of study. Early thinkers became keenly interested in the questions of social order. Now, these two theories of Karl Marx and Emile Durkheim had polar opposite views on how social order is achieved and maintained and to what ends. These are beautiful theories. Let's have a look on them one by one. So, first of all, we are going to study about Durkheim's theory, Emile Durkheim. Now, through his study of the role of religion in primitive and traditional societies, French sociologist Emile Durkheim came to believe that social order arose out of the shared beliefs, values, norms, practices of a given group of people. How the social order came out of. So Durkheim is of the strong point that it came out of shared beliefs, values, norms, and practices that a particular group of people does or have it. So Durkheim's view locates the origin of social order in the practices, that interactions of daily life, as well as those associated with rituals and important events. So, in other words, it is a theory of social order that puts culture at the forefront. So, Durkheim was of this point that whatever the activities the group of people are doing, it is actually putting up their culture in front. So, it is related or associated with rituals and important events that the people of that particular group do, and by doing those rituals or important events in their culture, they share their beliefs, they share their values, their norms, and their practices. So this is the theory of social order by Durkheim. So Durkheim theorized that it was through the culture shared by a group, community, or society that a sense of social connection, what he called solidarity. And solidarity means emerged between and among people, and that work to bind them together into a collective. So understand it again, that it was through the culture shared by a group, community, or society that a sense of social connection is established among the people, and what he called solidarity, and it emerged between and among the people, and that work to bind them together into a collective form. So Durkheim referred to a group of shared collection of beliefs, values, attitudes, and knowledge as the collective conscience. So, in primitive and traditional society, students, Durkheim observed that sharing these things was enough to create a mechanical solidarity in which the people are uh, making the collective form within them, and that bound their group together. So, what is keeping them binding together is very important. And according to Durkheim's theory, believed that social order was arising due to doing important rituals or cultural events in which they were sharing so many things, and due to that they were binding with each other on a very different level, cooperative level. So, in the larger, more diverse and urbanized societies of modern times, Durkheim observed that it was the recognition of the need to rely on each other to fulfill different roles and functions that bound society together. He called this organic solidarity. All right, so understand this term organic solidarity. So, Durkheim also observed that social institutions such as the state, media, education, and law enforcement play formative roles in fostering a collective conscience in both traditional as well as in modern societies. And according to Durkheim, it is through the interaction with these institutions and with the people around us that we participate in the maintenance of rules and norms and behavior that enable the smooth functioning of society. So, in other words, students, we work together to maintain social order. It is important to work together if you want to maintain the social order, according to Durkheim. So Durkheim's view became the foundation for the functionalist perspective, which views society as the sum of interlocking and interdependent parts that evolve together to maintain social order. Now let's understand a little bit about Marx's critical theory. We have seen about Durkheim's theory. Now let's see about Marx's critical theory. German philosopher Karl Marx, he took a different view of social order and he suggested something different and focusing on the transition from pre-capitalist to capitalist economies and their effects on society. Karl Marx developed a theory of social order centered on the economic structure of society. He was very much in favor of economic structure of society and the social relationship evolved in the production of goods. And Marx believed that these aspects of society were responsible for producing the social order, while others, including social institutions and the state, were responsible for maintaining it. But Marx was of a different point of view. He referred to these two components of society as the base and the superstructure. And what was that? It was production of goods and economic structure of society. So, in his writing on capitalism, Marx argued that the superstructure grows out of the base and reflects the interest of the ruling class that controls it. The superstructure justifies how the base operates, and in doing so, justifies the power of the ruling class. So, together, the base and the superstructure create and maintain social order. He is talking about ruling class also, and the lower class also, base class also, on which the ruling class operate. So it is about Marx's critical theory of socialism, and from his observation of history and politics, Marx concluded that the shift to a capitalist industrial economy throughout Europe created a class of workers who were exploited by company owners and their financiers. The result was a hierarchical class-based society in which small minority held power over the majority, whose labor they used for their own financial gain. Marx believes social institution did the work of spreading the values and beliefs of the ruling class to maintain a social order that would serve their interest and protect their power. So, students, Marx's critical view of social order is the basis of the conflict theory perspective in sociology, which views social order as a precarious state shaped by ongoing conflicts between groups that are competing for access to resources and power. So, but we have to see the merit in each theory. So, while some sociologists align themselves with either Durkheim's and some are of with the views of Marx social order, most recognize that both theories have their merit. A nuanced understanding of social order must acknowledge that it is the product of multiple and sometimes contradictory processes. So, social order is a necessary feature of any society, and it is deeply important for building a sense of belonging and connection with others. At the same time, social order is also responsible for producing and maintaining operations. A true understanding of how social order is constructed must take all of these contradictory aspects into account. Now, these are some references, students. You must go through them to learn more about the social structure and social order. Now, let's understand about some MCQs. There are some MCQs related to the general sociology. So, Dash is the father of sociology. Yes, Comte is considered as the father of sociology. Who has described society as a web of social relationships? So, MacLever is described sociology as a web of social relationship. Name the author of the book Primitive Culture. So, this is Taylor. Classification of group into in group and out group was presented by whom among the following? It was Sama. Contract and communication are the two main conditions of social interaction. Who said so? So this is given by Park and Burgess. Which of the following is not a characteristics of primary group? So primary groups deal with intimacy, closeness, familiarity, but not impersonality. Which one of the following will you categorize as achieved status? So, marital is the achieved status. Sex, age, and caste is actually ascribed status. Which among the following is an informal method of social control? So, this is about customs. Studies of social interaction, groups, etc., belong to micro. A role is the aspect of status. So it is role that is the dynamic aspect of status. So I hope students you have understood this much and you have learned about what is the social structure, how it works, problems of social structure, major institutions in social structures, and then we discussed about social order. What is the social order? And we have seen different two theories, one of Durkheim and one of Karl Marx in our studies. So both of them are very very important, and it is really very on that platform that you must understand what is the social structure and what is the social order. So it is important for you as a student to understand the concept of social order and social structure, because I just believe that if you don't understand it yourself, that you won't be able to teach your students in that required spirit which is required from you to develop that social emotion among your students. So I hope you have understood well. Have a nice time and understand well, and stay safe. Take care.